Okay. Okay, so now we're going to add a couple of things to our owl animation. We're going to add a blinking eyes and a background with clouds that animate also. So first thing that we want to do is create the background. Sorry, the blinking eye, should I say, first of all. So if you go down to the layer panel here, right click, select new and solid. Sorry, no, we'll do the sky first actually. So we'll name it sky. Colour light blue, sky colour. Okay, drag the sky layer below the owl. Okay, so we're going to go inside the, remember I talked about an owl pre-composition. So this owl layer here is a composition inside a composition here, so it's what we call a pre-composition. So we'll double click on the owl pre-composition and that takes us inside that. You can see there that it's inside the main composition here. Okay, we're going to zoom in on the owl's right eye, this one, first of all. We're going to use the shape tool. So if you go up to the menu at the top here, click on the rectangle shape tool and select the ellipse tool option. Just make sure you don't have the layer selected here, so you can click on any of the empty area here to just make sure that the layer is deselected. Then we're going to drag out now to help with this, to keep this as a circle and centered, you can hold down Control and Shift, and that should help hopefully. And then using the selection tool you can move that into place. If you find that your fill isn't the colour of the owl, just click on the fill box here. You can use the colour picker here to pick off the owl colour from the original graphic. We'll rename that layer right eye, so if you just right click and rename on the layer and then R eye. Okay, we're now going to create the two blinking eyelids. So if you now go back up to the shape tool, select the rectangle tool, hide the right eye layer that we've just created and drag out two rectangles, one covering the top half of the eye and one covering the bottom half. You can just shift the position of those if you need to with the arrow, up and down arrow keys. Okay, that should be alright. Okay, that will auto create another shape layer, and again we'll rename that, so we'll call that right eyelids or R eyelids. If you do need to adjust those further, you can select the selection tool. You see you've got the rectangle 1 and 2 sub layers here, so you can click on the sub layer you need, and then again with the arrow key you can just adjust those further if you need to. Okay, if you then drag those below, so the right eyelids layer below the right eye layer, and then just checking, going down to the layer panel here, just check that the layer transfer controls are toggled on here, so that you click on this, hope you can see here, this little toggle here, and then that will make the transfer layer controls visible. Okay, and then on the right eyelids layer, if you see where it says track matte or TRK matte here, underneath there where it says none, click on the drop down and select alpha matte right eye. So what that does is it uses the solid layer that's above the right eye solid layer, and any area where the right eyelids overlap the right eye remain solid, and any areas where the right eyelids don't overlap right eye become alpha or transparent. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So it kind of trims those eyelids down so they follow the shape of the right eye at the top there. Now just to neaten up, if any of the right eye or the layer 1 layers are expanded at all, just click on them, press U to compress them. So we've just got the right eyelids layer expanded now, and you should see the rectangle 2, rectangle 1 sub layers. Okay, so again, beauty of After Effects is you've got lots of controls here, lots of sub layers, and if we click on rectangle 2 here and expand that, and then we've got transform rectangle 2 here. So if we just expand that too. So basically what we want to do now is animate a blinking eye. So to animate our blinking eye, if we go down to rectangle 1 and rectangle 2 here, that obviously corresponds to the rectangles here. I'm going to expand rectangle 2 first of all, and we want to access its transform settings here. Okay, so expand those. I know it looks like a lot of sub layers here, but you know, a lot of them are familiar, and I think it seems less daunting as you get used to it and they become more familiar. So we want to change the position here. So if we think about when we want our eye to blink, so I think first of all we want to set the position to open. So if we click on position here and just change the Y value so the lids are open, and then if we do the same with rectangle 1, so it's good practice at dealing with sub layers this, and then position again there. We'll shift that one up. Alright, so we'll start with the lids open. If we move into a point where we maybe want the first blink to happen, I'm not going to, you know, let you estimate, you know, maybe about 1 second in. And then here, I'm going to again just shift the lid closed, and go to rectangle 2 and shift the lid closed. So it might be easier to keep these sub layers open actually. So rectangle 2, close lid, okay. Then either side of that, we want the eye to open again, so to be open. So either side of that close. Actually, we can do this a bit more precisely. So if we click on the timeline layer here, if you hold down Shift and press Control and press the left arrow key 5 times, that will move us back 5 frames before that close. And then here we want the eyelids to be open, so we'll just shift them open. Yep, this is making sense. Alright, so we've got our default, which is eyes open at the beginning here, and then the blink is from eye open, eyelid open to eyelid closed, and then to open again. So again, if we move the playhead to the point where it's fully open, hold down Control, and this time right arrow 5 times. Okay, 5 frames ahead, and then return the eyelids to open. Okay, so we basically have our blink there now. We've animated our blink, so let's just see how that looks. So if we press preview, okay, so that doesn't look too bad. Okay, so we'll just again put an ease on this. So if we select all 3 and press F9, okay, that will add an easy ease. Now we can also go into the graph editor here. So we click on the graph editor icon, and then we can see the actual graph of that animation. We can perhaps zoom in on that a little bit. Okay, to get a bit of a better view of that. Again, when you're dealing with the graph editor here, if you click on the graph type here, selector, just make sure you're on speed graph for this one. So edit speed graph. We've got our keyframe in the middle here, so this is basically our blink animation in graph form. So what we want to do is just the lids to open quite quickly at the start, and then in this middle here to kind of slow the movement to slow down a bit. So we can, again, just adjusting these handles, just adjust the graph. You can see that, actually stretch that out, I don't want to stretch it too much. So I'm hoping you can see there that starts off quite quickly, the speed, and then just eases a bit in the middle there. Zoom in on it a bit more. So you can see there, quite a quick opening, and then the central part, the movement slows down and then speeds up again a bit at the end. So that's the graph for one of the lids. This is the graph for the other lid. So you can actually click on the line itself to ensure that you see that that's a slightly darker pink now it's selected, and then we can adjust that in line with the other one. Okay, it's not perfect, but okay, we just test it. I mean, I know it doesn't, it's a little bit wonky there, but it's just how it appears that matters. Sorry, let me go back out of preview. I'll close the graph now. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so that's, I think that has just given it, I think sometimes it's just tweaking the movement a bit there, so I think that movement is slightly nicer. It's got a slightly more fluid feel to it. Okay, and then finally, now we've created that animation, again like we did with the movement and the wing flap, we can copy that and paste those. So again, probably the blinks are going to be a bit more, less rhythmic, a bit more sporadic. So we can paste those at intervals throughout the animation. Now just remember we're inside the OWL pre-comp here, so to test we can test the eyelid animation here, but to test the whole thing we just go back to the main OWL composition, and then hopefully, okay, so sorry, like I said, go back to the main composition here, and then hopefully we can test the whole thing out. So we'll have all three animations happening, the blink, the wing movement, and the up and down movement. So there we go. Okay, so that looks fine. Okay, now if we go back inside the OWL pre-composition where we animated the blink, and we just need to copy this eyelid, these eyelid animation layers now. So if we select those, shift click right eye and right eyelids, okay, Control D to duplicate. Okay, we can rename our duplicates to left eye, to right click and rename. Okay, and then shift click again, and we can move those across. We can manually move those using the selection tool. If you hold down shift as well, that will constrain the drag to a horizontal line. Okay, you can just scrub to test that out. That looks okay. That's fine. So now we've got the eye blink over both eyes. Okay, we do another little test of that. So if we go back to the main OWL composition here, okay, and then we can do a little preview of that. We can do a full screen preview here. If you go back to the preview panel here, make sure full screen's clicked, press play. Let's see how that's looking. Yep, so that's great. Both eyes blinking now. So the last thing now is to add the animated clouds, give the sense that the owl's moving through the sky.